All right, it's time for Bear Facts on Guns with your host, Derek Baer, and special guest, Tom Dorsch. And they're going to tell you all about why CCW is important, and brought to you this evening, of course, by Gold Shield Services, goldshieldtoday.com, 847-865-HVAC for heating, cooling, electric generators, indoor air quality. All of it's important, and they do it all for you. Gentlemen, good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Good evening.
Awesome.
Doing good. Welcome. And just FYI, we just launched our brand new website today. So when you go to goldshieldtoday.com, we have a brand new website, redesigned, revamped, and easier. So I like things easy. So that's it. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
I missed you for the past couple of
weeks.
weeks.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It has. We had some really good, we had some good guests that were new gun owners, a couple of real estate agents that came in, Sheila, and the foot team that came in and really paid attention to our show before and listened to you a lot and wanted to give her input. Sheila opened up and was able to go and talk away about her experience on there as well. So, hey, Ted, how's it going?
Okay.
Welcome in. We had one of your employees here,
I
too.
sent Mike over here.
Mike did a great job. That was a good show.
Mike's a retired Marine gunnery sergeant.
Yep.
And he heads up our training department, and his forte is the AR.
Yes.
And you want to, whatever you do, you want to take his AR classes.
Oh, yeah.
And take it from the different stages. He has stage 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 1, as you might guess, is nomenclature, how to take it apart, put it back together.
Yep.
And then stage 4, that's when you're running and gunning downrange.
Yep.
So
he had
fill in the rest.
He had so many interesting facts, and it was a great show. Everything. I brought my AR in, and he brought his AR in too, and broke down where it came from and the history on it and different types of them and all the common misconceptions about it. And it was a lot of fun. I got to give a shout out to Art, my partner. He got me a brand new hat when he was in Florida. So it's really nice. A little Second Amendment with some gunslinger stuff on there as well. So some rifles on there as well. So the reason for today's show and kind of what I wanted to break down and kind of get your input in, obviously, Tom. And Tom's with On Target in Crystal Lake. For those of you that don't know, really good gun range, really good management, good owners, and a clean place to go to. And we'll have him break that down a little more. I read an article the other day that was really interesting, and there's no outcome to it right now because, the media likes to, throw out a news feed and then not give you enough information, and you have to wait and find out what happens. But the gist of it is a homeowner had an intruder break into their house, and she used force in the form of a gun to defend her family. Mm-hmm. But the way that she shot that person didn't terminate them, wounded them, and now she's arrested over it. I know.
What municipality was that?
It was in a different state. I'm not going to say what state it is because we're talking about Illinois. But it was in the back, so I think the person was trying to exit the home, and this individual shot the person. Now, and I was talking to Pete earlier, I never jump to conclusions with anything, because if it's the middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning, and it's dark, your house is dark, can you really tell if someone's facing you or not if you're scared out of your mind and they're in the doorway and you don't know if they're coming in or going out? I mean, I don't know. There's like 1,000 questions, but I'm just going to trust that the justice system in that city and town pays attention to the whole story and not just, media-sizing the gun part of it in gun ownership. So, hey, Sheila, we just said we're talking about you. And hey, Stephanie, good to see you again. It's only been like 10 seconds on there as well.
Good afternoon, Ted. How you doing?
Yes, Ted. Always good to see you, bud. I actually got to meet Ted in person finally when we had a mixer here. Pete, it was great to meet Ted. Really nice guy. So really cool. Yeah,
he's really
I like
cool.
him a lot. And I thought he was across seas, actually, because I've watched the show so much and I got to know 216, obviously. And I thought Ted was not in state, but he's in state.
No, we've got so many listeners across the world, but one that is very routine is Gary.
Gary,
who's actually in Singapore.
Yeah. Yep. He's actually commented in the show, no guns in Singapore at all. No guns allowed. Completely legal. It's actually death if you take a fire. If you own a firearm or caught in possession with it, it's death.
But they got fire-hardened bamboo poles.
Great.
Yeah.
Those aren't going to feel good.
No, they're not. Hey, Tony. Hey, Mary. Welcome, guys. My wife's going to go have ice cream with Mary right now, too, which is nice. So that's it. So
Not Ben and Jerry's.
No, not Ben and Jerry's.
All right, good.
It's a local place, actually. I don't know the name of the place, though. Maybe Mary can tell you where you are. Actually, that's weird because then people are going to show up. Don't say it, Mary. I don't know. Whatever. So really, Tom, I want to break down the last couple of weeks. You had some CCW or CCL classes that you were hosting, right? Or some training classes that you had.
Right, we're doing
What is the law in Illinois for concealed carry? What do you have to do to get a concealed carry license?
Oh, okay. First of all, you have to have your FOID card.
Yep.
And then you have to be 21. And naturally, you pay the requisite fee, which is $150.
Mm-hmm.
But you need something more important that will carry you through the application process, and that's called a certificate of training. And back in 2013, in October precisely, they allowed On Target and other entities to start teaching the concealed carry class.
Awesome.
So we submitted a 16-hour curriculum, and it's based on the concealed carry law and by the guidance of the state police. So we went ahead, we broke it down, and we basically said, okay, here's what we want to, the slides we want to allocate toward that and the information we need to pass on. But then you have to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just looked at the slides,
Yep.
if you're 21 years old and somehow you went and got your NRA instructor certification that allows you to teach, and the state police signs off, you're going to look at those PowerPoints and they're going to just read them off with no real world experience.
Yep.
And this is where we have a number of former law enforcement, former federal law enforcement, former military, some folks, let's say a little bit well-seasoned,
Mm-hmm.
who can deliver the information with some good stories as well to back it up.
Yep.
And I know I'm going in depth in the curriculum a little bit,
Yep.
but that's what it entails, what's entailed in our 16-hour class. And then in 2014, you were allowed to submit for your concealed carry.
Nice.
And a little bit of trivia and important history of the whole concealed carry program was that it's based on a case, 2009, it happened real world situation with a lady by the name of Mary Shepard.
Okay.
If I said the story before, stop me.
Nope.
But Mary Shepard, she is the one who was working in a church in St. Anne, Illinois, along with another elderly lady friend.
Okay.
And they're working in church, counting some money. In walks a goon, roughs him up real bad, takes the money. He's caught. She survives. The other lady survives, but she was really mauled by this guy.
Sad.
She's a gun owner. She has been saying for years prior, I want to carry in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's saying I'm 72 years old.
Yep.
What am I supposed to do? Square off with Marcus of Queensberry? Would that please the governor? Okay, no.
Nope.
So she actually is the martyr for our movement, for the whole concealed carry movement. And because of that hallmark case, she went ahead, she sued Lisa Madigan and the state of Illinois and won.
Awesome.
Wow.
And they decided, you know what? I guess we have to allow this woman to have concealed carry. And then one of the minions of the governor probably tugged on his trousers and said, hey, if we give it to her, we got to give it to everybody who wants it. And then the other minion on the other trouser leg said, yeah, but we can make some money off this. Henceforth and forthwith is the birth of the concealed carry program in Illinois.
It's so sad. And P, I thought it. We came back from Arizona recently, and I walked into, and I actually bought some apparel. They had a Baer Arms, Firearms was the name of the store of the the gun store. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is meant to be. It's spelled Baer Arms Firearms. It's really cool. So I bought a whole bunch of shirt and t-shirts, and I found my 1911 I've been looking for quite some time. And my first question was, do you transfer out of state? And he goes, nope. and I go, okay. He goes, we just keep it for our residents. We know stock and supplies. We have bullets available and we have guns available, but we're not selling them out of state at all. We're not shipping out. It's all we want to take care of our own that are here. Open carry state, concealed carry state, and their Second Amendment. They have you don't need anything for it. He just said, you assume everyone carries, and that's it. You just assume that everyone carries. And I'm like, okay, like you just come in and buy a gun and then you're good to go. And he's like, yep. He goes, it's a Second Amendment. It's a right. It's not a privilege.
It's not a privilege. It's a right.
So I just thought about you when I was out there, and I was like, man, this is the way Illinois should be. And you're right. We have to make money on everything we do as a state of Illinois. I am thankful, obviously, coming from New York, that you're just not allowed to have it unless you're a police officer. And I just grew up with the fact that I just could never carry, and I just didn't know any better. So it's good to be in a state that allows you to carry, although it sucks we have to pay for it, but we are able to carry, where other states like New York are not able to carry at all. So what do you do to defend yourself? Mm-hmm. You just carry around a knife, but then there's certain requirements on your knife size, and if it's a switchblade or not a switchblade. And I'm just like, man, there's so many rules and regulations to everything. And I get it, but I don't get it.
Well, with
right?
the deadly weapon clause that we do teach, there's three important words that go with that, and that is intent to use.
Exactly.
That they put in there. If you have intent to use your nunchucks, you're going down Michigan Avenue swinging nunchucks at people.
Sure.
Okay, or swinging your dirk at people. That's a Scottish Highlander knife. Nice. And if you be Rob Roy McGregor walking down State Street, you might have one under your kilt. Okay, awesome. So intent to use pretty much says it all. Just like the one case that you talked about, the shooting that we're going to get into in that lady's home.
Yep.
All these cases with weapons, they stand alone. Mm-hmm. There is no black and white. They try to write up all the laws in as objectively as possible, but it's impossible. And that's why we have judges. That's why we have juries of our peers to look at every case separately and say, okay, did he really intend to use these nunchucks, or did the law enforcement officer just find them in the back seat? Sure. Because he was bringing them because that was part of his Halloween costume, because he was pretending to be Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon.
He's just having fun out there. He wasn't trying to be harmful.
Now, Shayna does have a question for you here. I believe this is for you, Tom. Have you ever trained someone who qualified but gave you concerns? Do you have some protocol, or do you just say, have a nice day?
Wow, that is so cool. I am very happy. Shane, is it? Shayna, thank you very much for posing that question. Yes, I have had concern, and I have told shooters like that. I said at the beginning of class, I say, there's two ways you're going to fail the class. Okay. Number one, you don't qualify. It's a very easy qualification with your own handgun or a rental handgun. You have to qualify at 5 yards, 7 yards, and 10 yards from the standing position behind the line. We start them at the low ready, which is 45 degrees away from your body, finger off the trigger, and then I'll say commence fire or gun, and then they'll lift up and they'll start shooting. Okay? That's one way that you don't get your concealed carry by us if you don't qualify. The other way, which I explain, is that if you are unsafe. Unsafe means unfit. And if you're unsafe, and if you're getting rattled in a mere training environment, what's going to happen out at the Quickie Mart when the real thing goes down? I mean, I have family, both of you gentlemen have family walking around out there. So it's our responsibility to make sure anyone we sign off on, we have some element of trust that they're going to do the right thing. They're going to know their backdrop. They're going to adhere to the rules, the law, when they employ that very awesome responsibility of drawing that firearm. So in answer to your question, what I would do when someone isn't making it, I would tell them, hey, you know what? I already have your certificate signed because I thought you'd pass, but there's some concerns I have. I want to do more training with you. Come on in for a private lesson, and I want you to show me not only that you can shoot straight, but I want you to show me that you can operate the firearm safely. And if you could do that, then and I show you malfunctions or whatever, and you accomplish all the drills I put forth, then I will sign off. But they have to prove it.
Yep.
I've had a number of those individuals too.
Yeah, Shayna says that's kind of intense. Thanks. So,
Intense kind of guy.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
not at all. And that's kind of what the basis of what I really want to dive into today, because there's in my opinion, when it comes to concealed carry training in general, it's one step past purchasing a firearm. It's one step past your first gun purchase, because what I'm hearing in the market all the time, and especially with all the stimulus money that came out, a lot of people bought guns with their stimulus money, but they bought their first gun ever. And then they just think that the gun's going to protect themselves. That's not how it works. You'd better off with a steak knife, honestly, because at the end of the day, you don't know how to deal with a stressful situation. And what Tom's saying is, it does sound intense because it's all at once, but when you're in a training class, remember, this is a 16-hour training class. So it's 2 full days, or however you break it down. So it's not like, we have an hour that we talk here, and you're kind of shoving, 18 or 16 hours worth of conversation into a short segment of conversation. But when you're sitting in the class, there's parts of breakdown that you're not going to be able to get out of just an hour of us. That's why training in person and understanding how to use your firearm. And I highly recommend bringing your first gun with you. You can rent guns and stuff like that, but why not train on your gun? It's your gun. You carry it in your house.
The one you're going to use, the one that,
yeah.
Because the one I have that I bought specifically for that purpose, that I thought, okay, and I still have yet to get my license, my concealed carry license. I just, it bothers me tremendously that I have to do that.
Yep.
It's a right. It's not a privilege. And that just pisses me off. And I know that really shouldn't be the barrier.
Sure.
But that's a big part of it. However, what I bought is a gun that I don't like to shoot. And it's a CPX. It's a Sky CPX2. It's got a 13-pound trigger. There's no safety. It's a double action, 9mm. It's very effective, and it's a nice working gun. It's not a gun you would ever take to the range to shoot for fun. That thing feels like you're getting slapped in the wrist by a 2x4 every time you shoot it, and it's just a 9mm. It's not, but it's so incredibly light that it just really feels like you're getting cracked in the wrist every time you shoot it. But I don't like it as a gun.
Yeah.
But again, I bought it for the purpose of being a concealed carry, because it's a nice small gun, and it came with 2 10-round mags, and I've taught myself to use it, but I don't shoot it much because I don't like it.
So is that your home defense that you said?
No, that's not my home. I bought that because I had intended to get my concealed carry. I've just never done it. I've got shotguns. I've got all kinds of other guns at home. If I was going to pick up a gun for home defense, and there are guns that I can pick up for home defense, it's going to be a shotgun.
Yeah.
I'm extremely comfortable with those. I've used them all my life.
Plus, they make a really great sound when you rack them.
And even that, you don't necessarily have to rack if it's already loaded, but it's just that's what I'm over everything else. That's what I'm comfortable with in that sort of situation. Beyond that, I've got a little single action 22 LR that is my most favorite gun of all. I can sit there and have so much fun at any range with that thing and shoot it all day, and it's cheap to shoot because it's 22s. And I do love that. It's comfortable, it's fun, and it's very zen. Everything falls away, and you just find the target. But
that's my concealed carry. So my 9mm Shield, I know that gun so well. It's so comfortable to me, and people either love it or hate it. And Shayna did ask another question here, and I definitely want to get to that next. because that's a good question to ask as well. Shayna, you got some great questions today already. Thank you.
Yay, Shayna.
So you have to be comfortable with your concealed carry. That's the gun that I practice the most with, because that's on me every day of the week. I carry it with me everywhere I go. I feel naked without it, and it's my favorite thing to shoot. Home defense style, yeah, I have my firearm I'm going for. But at the same time, maybe it's just me. My intent, even if someone were to break into my house, my intent wouldn't be I want to automatically kill you. I don't want to kill people. Like, I don't have any intent to take someone's life. I got to live with that for the rest of my life, whether they're breaking in or not. My first thing is get out of my house. Okay, I'm going to give you another verbal warning. Okay, now you're pointing another gun at me. Okay, now I got to choose you or me. And it sure as heck ain't going to be me. You know what I mean? And I think that's my thought process when it comes down to it. And I don't know. So, Shayna, your question was, does anything weird happen with one's insurance when you get a CC? I'm assuming you mean home insurance, or you just mean...
Nothing will happen with your home insurance, but I would recommend getting your own concealed carry insurance. Mm-hmm. And the one that...
So talk about what the concealed carry insurance is.
Well, concealed carry insurance, I mean, you pay depending on what plan you get. Mm-hmm. Can I say who I have mine with?
Please, yeah.
I mean, I use USCCA, mm-hmm. and I recommend them. And I heard a lot of good things from other people who have used them in just other legal matters by calling them up. They will have someone answer that phone 24/7, which is very important.
Yep.
Okay, because if, God forbid, there is an incident with your in your concealed carry mm-hmm. Career, and you have to call someone, it's nice to know that someone's going to answer the phone. Okay, so let's say...
incidents don't just happen between 9 and 5.
Right, exactly. And you want someone there 2 a.m, okay?
Exactly.
And from a nasty part of town or whatever.
So do you think you should call that person, if an incident were to happen, should you call that person, if you have that insurance, before you interact with the police or after you interact with the police?
Well, if you have time, mm-hmm. and the police are on the way after mm-hmm. you report the incident, I'd call them right away.
Cool.
Okay. Yep. But sometimes the police, they want to go home. They want to report.
Yep.
They're going to ask you, all right, what happened? Mm-hmm. And we want to be good citizens. Mm-hmm. You want to say, well, officer, it's like this. Okay. And he came in here and I was here. Actually, the best thing to do is say nothing. You could say something to the officer, like, officer, I really want to cooperate with you, but I really think it's in my best interest to wait until my lawyer arrives.
Yep.
And he'll understand that. It might not stop him from asking you again what happened.
Sure.
He has a report to write.
Yep.
Okay. But stand by that, because things change in the heat of the moment, in the fog of war. Things might change, and witnesses might say, well, there was 5 shots, and you swear there was only 2 shots.
Sure.
So let's get all your facts straight. Sit down, decompress, have a cup of coffee with your lawyer, and figure out, how you're going to approach this incident.
Sure.
Not lying, but putting all the facts together.
Yep.
And you don't want to say something that might not be factual because of the incredible adrenaline rush that you're experiencing at the time of the event.
Yep. And that's what I mean, for me, it comes down to, I always have to listen to all the facts before I, give my opinion on things. I will give my first impression opinion, but my official opinion and my fact that I feel after the fact is after everything's really come down. So my first question when I read this story was like, what did she say? What did she say to the officer? And there's so many questions you're just never going to have answers to because it's sealed files and it's a court case, so nobody can talk about it. Mm-hmm. So we're just reading one interpretation of what was done and what was said. And at the end of the day, I want to think that there's a lot of good people out there that wouldn't do that. But if you have someone who's scared, who's someone that's breaking in your house at 3:00 in the morning and you can't tell which way they're facing, is that intent? Did I intend to shoot you? No, I mean, you're breaking into my house. Like, it's my home. It's my area of, where I'm comfortable at. So
yeah. One of our newest classes that we started teaching almost a year ago now mm-hmm. is tactical home defense.
Awesome.
Number 1. And that's classroom time. And then we go down to the range and do some low light shooting. And I got another little practical shooting exercise we do down there just to give everyone a taste of what it's like to be in the dark in your home and you have a gun. Okay.
Scary.
And then we offer tactical home defense number 2, where it's a little bit more, well, it's a lot more adventurous. I mean, you get downrange in the dark, it's safe. I'm behind every student, but we make sure that you undergo certain situations that are as realistic as possible. Not saying that all break-ins are going to take place in the dark.
Sure.
Right.
Before COVID happened, I mean, when the crooks knew that most people are away at work,
Yep.
the average or the most popular time for break-ins between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Most people are at work.
But, you have that classic idea that it's me and a bunch of bad guys in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
But what I tell the folks and what other instructors tell them, it's a successful home defense, even if a shot is not fired and you get them out of the house.
Yep.
Sometimes deterrence alone. Get them out of the house. Use voice commands. Nothing wrong with it.
Yep.
The cops are on the way. I'm armed. Get out of my house. And if they skedaddle, successful home defense.
Yeah.
We also teach something. We could spend the whole night on this.
Sure.
But we have standoff points.
Uh-huh.
Know your standoff points that give you some element of cover in your home. For example, you might have a standoff point at the top of the stairs if you have a 2-story home, where you can cover the whole stairwell. That stairwell becomes a choke point.
Yep.
They shall not pass through that choke point.
Yep.
Like the 300 Spartans held off 20,000 Persians in the gates of Thermopylae.
Yeah.
How were they able to do that? It's a very narrow passage, a choke point. You can only fit so many people at a time. Well, if you're at that standoff point, they come up the stairs, hold it right there, get out of my house. Well, they either are going to hightail it out of there or they're going to keep on coming up the stairs. They keep coming up the stairs. Well, I think they showed something that's called malintent. And then that's when your reasonable belief kicks in. And we'll talk about the exoneration for deadly force.
Sure.
And what is key about that is your reasonable belief. And if the jury is going to have the same reasonable belief as you in that moment. But if they just skedaddle after you tell them get out of my house, successful home defense. In fact, that's probably the best scenario. That way you're not cleaning up the carpet, and that way you're not going to court.
No.
You're just filling out a police report.
Yeah.
And then you'll learn that lesson, fortify your house even more.
Now, you actually brought, sorry if I'm skipping ahead where you want to be, but you actually brought an interesting tool for home defense.
Oh, it's not just home defense. Wherever I go, I carry it.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome to show. We've got the camera right here.
Get it out.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I don't know what weapon he was talking about.
Of course, we can't actually see it on the radio.
Old Betsy.
But
so we'll describe it as he's coming out. So he just pulled a big shaft out.
and
okay,
so
let's look at this for a second here.
He's got a remarkable black shield there.
This is a shield.
Pretty sturdy.
We sell them in the pro shop. It's a great home defense tool that you could just easily throw on if you had to go down a dark hallway, and it'll stop 9mm and even 223.
Really? Wow.
When I bought it, I thought this is just class 3, level 3, which just stops handguns.
Yeah.
It stopped 223.
Really?
Much to the surprise of the guy who was holding it when I was shooting. I mean,
probably much to his happiness.
Yeah, you should have seen his face.
Yeah.
When I picked up the AR. And he said, "You got to be kidding." No, I just sit still. Quit being a baby.
What is that thing called?
Sit still.
Yeah, sit still. I feel like Super Trooper moments when you're wearing the cup and get shot.
Well, the make is Botac.
Okay.
And it's a tactical shield. It is used by law enforcement, but I opted for something that will stop rounds and gives me some kind of cover. Yeah. Let's see if the camera can pick it up here.
You're good.
Okay. So let's go ahead and
What do
Get
you?
rid of the sheet here.
Okay, what you
Wait,
just
wait, we got
heard.
a lot of stuff going on.
If you
here.
come down the hallway like this, some 21-year-old meth head is going to see that and he's going to run out the window. I mean, that's kind of what we call deterrence.
Now he just pulled up for everybody listening. What
Yeah.
he just pulled out, where he unsheathed a Spartan sword,
No, it's
there.
actually a gladiator.
a gladiator. Okay, I'm sorry, gladiator
It's Roman
sword.
gladiators. But
So,
you see,
I
you
mean,
want-
I wouldn't
you want
wanna
something
come-
like this.
Yeah,
Because you're going to be in a narrow hallway. You don't want to have a Claymore Scottish sword that's going to knock the picture of Uncle Elmo with his prize-winning bass off the wall. You want something that's going to go over the top, or you have a firearm right here
yeah.
behind the shield.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know too many bad guys are going to still want to take you on with one of these. Besides, this in itself, if that's all you have, it's a tremendous weapon as well.
Sure.
I mean, for thrusting, blocking, covering up. So it serves a number of functions. But what I would do, you mentioned about your shotgun earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say this to everybody considering home defense, and that's the stock answer for most folks. They say, well, I got a gun over here. Or I got a shotgun over here. Well, how much time does it take for you to get out of bed, grab that gun, chamber around if it's not already chambered, and get to your standoff position?
Sure.
How much time?
Couple
Time
seconds.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you time yourself so you know the timing it takes. And if you choose to put on your my slippers, Mike Lindell has now my slippers. If you put on your my slippers, or you got to get out of your Garanimals. Hopefully Garanimals now they're starting to sew a magazine pouch, right? An extra mag pouch right into the pajamas.
Nice.
So you could sleep with an extra mag, because when you run to your standoff point, you probably have your gun, you might have your phone. Chances are you're not going to have your extra magazine.
Mm-hmm.
That's why home defense guns, hey, you're limited by your own magazine capacity and creativity. Concealed carry, we're thinking, okay, it'd be nice to have a high capacity, but I need something a little smaller that can be concealed.
Comfortable.
Okay, something comfortable. But home defense gun, you don't have to worry about that.
No.
You can have whatever you want,
Yeah.
nice high capacity, because if you do get to your standoff point, you don't have to worry about running back in the bedroom and reloading.
Yeah.
And you're not going to think about grabbing another mag.
No.
Yeah.
And to be fair on on the one that I would just I mean, it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And my slippers are backless, so the feet just go right in the front, and down the hallway I'd go, because we have a split level ranch, and all the bedrooms are on one side of the house over the garage.
Yeah.
And everything else is on the other side. So it's a very long hallway, but the choke point would be that the opening of that hallway, because you're coming in the front door and you either go up the steps or down.
You see, now you're thinking.
And
You got the terminology down.
So
Pete knows his stuff.
Chances are you're going to be fighting in your underwear and bare feet.
yeah.
I
You
learned
guys
the
wear
hard
underwear
way.
to bed?
I'm just t-shirt, boxers, and
Boxers,
yeah.
okay. All right.
T-shirt, boxers, and my little slippers that actually have bears on them. By the
The
way,
little bear with the
Yeah.
little jiggly eyes.
So yeah, he doesn't have jiggly eyes, but a little bear, and just there's no back, so I can just
That's
scoop my
awesome.
foot right in. And
I'm a Croc guy. I love
but,
Crocs.
I don't.
Yeah.
I got fuzzy Crocs now too that have the fur
But,
inside of them.
yeah, chances are I'm going to be in my undershirt and my boxers, and that's just how it would go down. And my side of the bed is nearest the door, so my wife is,
Those are all the technical
you
little details that you have to work through.
Yeah.
I mean, are you sleeping close to the door? Is your wife sleeping close to the door? Where's the dog? If you got a dog,
we
what's the dog?
have 5 dogs actually.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, then you don't have
the
to worry
two-
about anything.
The
dogs
two
will
big
take-
ones stay out and about. They're there. We have a Rottweiler pit bull mix, and then we've got a Shepherd Mastiff mix, and she just looks like a giant black German Shepherd. But she'll make a lot of noise, but for being the biggest dog, she's kind of worthless for protection. She's a big baby. The other guy the Rottweiler pit bull mix, we have to watch him because he may decide he doesn't necessarily like certain people. So his introduction process is very mindful. So someone coming in that he doesn't know is going to hear about it and is probably going to feel it. The sad part is if they're armed, he's probably going to feel it.
Oh, they'll feel the vibration.
Yeah.
Bad guys give off with malintent.
Yeah.
And then they'll key in on you as your adrenaline's flowing, that this isn't normal. It's an amazing creature. They have a sixth sense about that.
Yeah. And he is a remarkable, Bodie is a remarkable, it seems, judge of character. I've been astounded by him in that case. Type of
Dogs
not very type of situation, but people that I'm going, he's instantly, no, not this, not this one. So all right, I'll take your word for it. We'll use extra caution, but you're right.
A doggy barometer.
So after the biggest thing for me after I took my CCL class for me was I positioned myself, because I had a great instructor. He actually is a good friend of mine, and has been an instructor for a number of years. He actually just moved out of state to another state, and I still talk to him all the time. I position myself even when I eat dinner. I have to, you can ask my wife, I don't sit with my back to the door. I sit in a corner so I can feel the view, everything in a room at all times, so I can know what's going on. I constantly am aware of my surroundings as much as I can be. And I try to pay attention to strange people that shouldn't be there, that walk in and walk out and walk back in again. Now they have a backpack and they didn't before. Like, those things kind of cue me off for different, feelings on how I do things. And we had a Doberman for 11 years and did the same kind of stuff. Like, he could tell personalities. He'd show teeth, he'd growl, he'd bark, and he never barked. And he was not an aggressive dog, but you put him around somebody that has ill intent, it definitely, gives off on there as well. I don't want to mess up the Legacy Home and Business Services. How do you say the first one? I'm going to say
legal.
So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. And we love our listeners. I'm so happy you shared the show. Thank you so much. And continue to ask questions, guys. You have an expert here with us, and obviously me and Pete. I've gone through the class. Pete hasn't. And that's kind of what I'm happy about with classing. It's not just about having to carry every day, because I know a lot of people who have a concealed carry license and don't carry because they're not trained yet enough for their comfort level to be able to safely carry that all the time, which just tells me you just need more training or more practice. When you're a kid, you all did fire drill training, right? You know where your exit points are every single day. Like, I feel like if people don't practice home defense at home, in with your wife, with your husband, with whoever, you're not going to be as prepared as if you were to practice every single day with it, or not every day, but refresher course. Sitting on a couch and you yell at your wife. Me yelling at my wife, "Hey, get up! Someone's trying to break in!" And what do we do? And see the panic, because now we know what you need to do to fix that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
That cuts that fine hair between situational awareness and paranoia.
Oh yeah, that's so true.
And
I ride that line.
and I know. I mean, you got to know, how to, walk the line of that sword.
Sure.
Because if you're paranoid all the time, you're going to be in condition red.
Yep.
All the time. I mean, white being sleeping, basically, laying back in your easy chair. Orange means, or yellow, you're alert, like we're alert right now. Orange means something bothered you. Something made your spider senses tingle. Okay. And then red, you're going looking for bad guys and drawing guns and slapping leather and pulling iron. So, you don't want to be in red all the time, and you don't want to hang around people who are in red all the time, because they will burn you out.
Yep.
Working overseas in a lot of missions, there's always a guy who's in red all the time and seeing bad guys behind every tree, and it'll drive you nuts. And they burn out. They don't last long. You got to send them home or something. So think of the Boy Scout creed, always prepared.
Yep.
And the best way, once you are prepared mentally, once you are prepared with your gear, once you're prepared with your abilities.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the other way you prepare yourself, because once you get out into the world, the public environment, you're not in control anymore.
Yeah.
You are not in control.
Yep.
So one way you can kind of control your destiny is by time. Let me give you an example. When you go into a restaurant and the waitress says, well, here, sit right over here, right next to the front door with your back toward the door. And, some people are oblivious. They'll take it. They'll go, okay, well, we're just happy to have a seat. But they have no time. They might be a concealed carry holder. There is no time to react. I don't care if you're Wild Bill Hickok. Bad guy comes in, starts shooting up the joint. And here you are doing the same thing, cowering because you're shocked. You're in a state of shock because you didn't have any time to process exactly what's happening. So if you sit all the way in the back, your favorite booth with your back up against the wall, you see a bad guy come in, someone maybe who looks out of place, looking around, looking kind of agitated. Why does he have a long coat in July? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweater on. He's walking in. He's all geared up. Enjoy.
Yeah.
And 100 degrees. And there's people out there that, again, I don't judge, but I'm going to question.
I'm gonna take a look.
Yes.
I mean, don't deny your own survival skills.
True.
The good
Hey there,
Lord
Jen.
gave us survival skills for a reason.
Hey, Jen.
And sometimes in the politically correct world, it means judging. Well, what's wrong with judging if you're judging to save your life and your family? You might be wrong sometimes, but at least you look at the situation and go, this doesn't seem right.
No.
Okay, so that doesn't mean draw down. That just means be alert. That's all. But that time element, let's look at the church in Fort Worth that happened about 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Okay. This gentleman who did the good guy shooter, he had time because he saw the bad guy's out of place. He saw the guy arguing with one of the security guys. That's another tip up. Just like red tip ups along a frozen lake, ice fishing. There's one flag. There's another flag. There's another flag. And then he sees the guy stand up. Okay, I have concealed carry. Am I going to have to pull? Okay, to stop or to save life?
Yep.
Well, this guy draws a gun. Still, this guy, the good guy shooter, could have stood up at that point and shot him, and he would be exonerated by the deadly force statutes.
Sure.
Because he'd be saving another life, even though the gun wasn't pointed toward him. I'll read you that in a bit. But he still was getting his act together, and the guy fired once, fired twice, killed 2 parishioners, until the good guy shooter, concealed carry holder, he drew down, and he put that guy down. Okay. But what he had on his side was that time to figure out just what he's going to do. So, along with your ability, along with your gear, put time into the mix if you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we always talk about what ifs and, your mindset of what you would do in those situations. And, I want to tell myself that I would think, because I wouldn't react, because I'm just not that type of person in general. I don't assume anything. I listen to all the facts and I kind of process what's going on first. Obviously in a life and death situation, it's a little bit different. It's a lot different, I should say. And, I don't think that would be my first go-to. My first go-to would be my voice. Like, hey, there's another way we can handle this, man. Like, we don't need to do this. Like, you need to think about what you're about to do. It's not that, hey, I have a gun. Like, oh, I'm gonna pull my gun. No, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, listen, like, hey, what's going on? Like, hey, why are you doing this? Oh, you do okay, cool. But you're about to take someone's life. Do you understand that? Like, you understand you're about to shoot somebody. You have to live with that. You're gonna deal with the consequences. You got a whole bunch of witnesses in here. Whatever the situation is, like, I feel like I would try to talk to the person to just calm them down and get them focused on me versus that person that whatever, or focused on me in general of, hey, did I do something to you? Is it worth taking my life for? I don't feel like I'd be like, first thing I would do is just go and grab. If someone walked in the door right this second, I wouldn't just go, oh my gosh, I have to go grab. I feel like that's paranoia. Like, oh my God, somebody's out to get me. I don't have enemies like that. At least I don't think I do. And I don't mean to have enemies like that. If there is people out there that are listening that hate me that much to walk in and shoot at me, I'm sorry. Like I'm not trying to do whatever ill intent you have towards it there.
Right.
And at the same person, I try to be a good person as much as possible. So I try to live a good life. You laugh, but paranoia versus preparedness is a very big difference. I have 21 cameras in my house. And everyone gives me the same reaction. Uncle Pete.
Is there that much interesting going on in your home?
Are they pointed in or out?
Well, no. Okay. Actually, they're all pointed out. And everyone laughs at me, but it's not paranoia. Actually, I test products out all the time. So our company, Gold Shield Services, we do smart home integration, and I take that literally because in my world, the first line of defense is me being aware. Okay. If I know something's coming, then it's there. But I also test products all the time. So I test different camera systems that come on the market. I buy and return them, or I buy them, try to break them, or buy them and leave them because I love them. And they just become another angle of viewage that I can have in my house. And I have it set up on parameters where the first set of cameras anybody can get through. It's the second and third one that alerts me because now you're in the zone of, why are you walking up my driveway? Like, right. Are you the mailman or the mail lady? Are you dropping off Amazon packages, whatever it is, food, stuff like that? Aaron, welcome to the show. Thanks, buddy. And Aaron knows me. His name's Hollywood, by the way. I'm going to call him Hollywood for the rest of my life. Sorry, buddy. So he knows me very well, and he knows how I think, and we ride motorcycles together all the time. I have different lines of defense. So I have time. So my camera system is used as a deterrent, but also used as an informed to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not home, or I'm on vacation, or I'm at work, or my wife's home, or whatever's going on. I know when I need to pay attention and when I don't need to pay attention. So I don't live in that red zone all the time. I get to the probably yellow or orange stage when that third or fourth camera comes off, and it's a weird time when the mail person's not supposed to be there and packages aren't supposed to be delivered. I start to look at it. I'll just pull my camera up, take 2 seconds. It's nicely shown on my watch, so I can just see if there's an individual there. And to answer your question, no, there's absolutely nothing going on at my house ever. It's a suburban place. It's quiet. You got trees flowing. Half the time it's a tree blowing in the wind, or my giant American flag that makes a shadow that sets off my camera, and I laugh about it.
And Ted does ask, what do you charge for camera setup? And Ted, to answer that question, you can call Gold Shield Services at 847-865-HVAC. Yep. And Derek and his staff will be thrilled to tell you all about that, and maybe actually set up a time for them to come out and do a walkthrough and a look, and
we'll do a free estimate,
an estimate for you.
Yep. So we've installed quite a number of camera systems, and I have ones that I have inexpensive ones that are $1,000 total installed, and I have $50,000 to $100,000 cameras if you really want to be.
And see that little one that's over there that you actually gave me as swag when you were here one time. That thing is awesome.
Yep.
I love that little thing. It keeps a great eye on the studio. I can check in on it anytime I want. Yep. It's got sound. I can actually even talk over it, which I have actually done when we've had someone in here who was not supposed to be doing what they were doing. Sweet. And I put the thing, I said, you need to get away from my desk. What are you doing? And the person that was there stopped, and they're looking around. I'm like, I can see you. You're on camera. Yep. I know that you're in the studio and that you have a show to run, but you never, ever, ever touch my desk. Nope. That's off limits. Yep. And then they're like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I was looking for something and I need it. I'm like, no, move away from my desk. Yep. Go do your show. Don't ever touch my desk, and always know that Uncle Pete is watching.
100%.
So, but yeah, it's
There's so many good products out there, and there's so many bad products too. So I can definitely attest to those when it comes to that. And I love camera systems, and exactly what it is too. That's my first defense. I would get on my camera system and say, "Hey, you're about to get to a place where you're not going to be able to return from. So can you please just step off my property? What business do you have? I'm not expecting you." And it's sad because I grew up in a small town, like Pete, same way. Like my grandparents still leave their keys above their visor. Like their front doors are wide open. Like there's no questions about where they live and how like relaxed it is out there, because there's just not that type of crime. Like, people don't do that. And everyone in my hometown hunts. So they all have shotguns laying next on the floor and next to the dresser, and they're all loaded. And you grow up with it and you just don't think about it, because it's there. It's normal nature. But yeah, those cameras are awesome. I love them. I have, every time we go on vacation, I put about, because I don't have cameras inside my house. It's weird to me. I don't need to see myself walking around in my underwear. And I don't need to, I just don't, it's me and my wife. Like that's it, whatever. But when we go on vacation, I put up 10 cameras in the house. So I put those up all the way through because we have 2 cats and we watch our cats when we're on vacation. And if some intruder does get in and I'm not home, I now have video footage on different ways that I need to. And Tom's looking at me like I'm crazy. So not paranoid, I promised. I do test a lot of products as well. So cool. Any other questions out there, please feel free to comment in. Really appreciate that as well.
And we've got about 9 minutes left. Tom,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in what you've got there.
He's got a massive list. I love it.
Well, let me tell you a little story behind this. This shows you what old guys do. Okay, I looked at the Illinois website. I have all these slides in our laptop in the training room, on justifiable use of force and everything, and the whole definition. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't figure out how to print off their training laptop. So I went back to my office and I look it up and, the Illinois statutes and everything. And then I'm trying to figure out how to just print one page. And then I thought I did it. I outlined and I hit print. And about 30 pages. So it's on the bottom of my floor and at the bottom of my printer. And so I just said, all right, screw it. I just want to go ahead. I'm going to write this down on my orange piece of paper so I know this is the one.
Shoot away.
Okay.
What do you got?
All right. So, I mean, anyone could look this up, but, just so we understand, what is asked of us. 720 Illinois Complied Statutes, 5/7 through 1. All right, it's the title that's important. Justifiable use of force and exoneration. Believe it or not, even in Illinois, we can be exonerated.
I know.
Did you know that?
I don't know how much that costs, though.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, not political. Not trying to be political.
All right, so let me read this to you. I know you could read it at home, but I'll put some inflection in here where I think is necessary. A person is justified in the use of force against another when and to the extent that he reasonably believes, underline that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or another against such other's imminent use of unlawful force. Okay, now what I just read is the use of force. Mm-hmm. That's just force. Mm-hmm. I see a guy with a knife and I tackle him. Mm-hmm. I take the knife away. I'm not killing him. I'm not shooting him. Sure. I just used force because I was justified in using some force. I didn't think I had to shoot him. I thought I could just take it. Okay, that's force. However, this is the other paragraph attached to that. However, he is justified in the use of force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm only if he or she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself, to another, or during the commission of a forcible felony. Forcible felony is a felony that includes force or violence. Okay. So you can save, if you had to, you can save the life of a total stranger that is being beaten to death.
Yep.
And you try, hey, get off him. There's always escalation of force.
Yep.
Use voice commands, get off him. Okay. No. All right. Okay, I'm armed. Get off him now. The beating continues. You can't subdue him, the bad guy that is, and then you have that it might come down to deadly force. But this is the whole exoneration. But the key words here, your reasonable belief, and that's what's on trial.
Yep.
Were you reasonable in the use of deadly force?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you have other options? Now, believe it or not, in the state of Illinois, we don't have a duty to retreat. You don't. You don't have to run away. You can stand your ground in public and in your home naturally. They talk about the Castle Doctrine. Well, there really isn't any written Castle Doctrine, so to speak. It's a term used that you have the right to defend your house, okay, against force, unlawful force, someone entering, breaking in, and but along with that, it comes down to deadly force with someone breaking in your house only if some person in your residence is going to be harmed. Harmed, great serious bodily harm, or killed. Okay, you can't shoot somebody. Now we made that big circle to the first part of the evening to the lady who shot someone in her house. We don't know all the details.
Correct.
He was shot in the back. You can't shoot someone in the back when they're running away.
Yep.
Now, if they have a gun in their hand and they're running toward another member of your family or even a stranger with the intent to do harm, can you shoot them in the back? What do you think?
I would think, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Then that would be a reasonable thing to think. So what's on trial is your reasonable nature.
Sure.
I had a student in my class. He must have read all the books on combat by Grossman and all this kind of stuff.
Trying to be prepared.
and he really got into it with another student where the student says, well, how do you know if this is a deadly force situation or not? And the one student who asked that, very innocent, just wanted to know. And I wanted to say, well, it's all relative. You know, you have to decide there. But the one gentleman in the class, he got all excited and said, listen, mister, there are 5 things you better remember before you pull that trigger. 5 things you better remember that better be going through your mind before you pull that trigger. And I said, hold on, cowboy. Ho. First of all, at On Target, we never pulled a trigger. We pressed the trigger. All right. Secondly, 5 things? I can't remember what I had for breakfast. I'm supposed to remember in a heated moment 5 things. No. I'll tell you what. The Rolodex in my mind doesn't go that fast, thinking of 5 things. That's why I make it easy on you, on my students, myself. Your reasonable belief that you have to use force or deadly force, depending on the situation. Sure. What's reasonable? Not only is your reasonable belief in that moment being judged, but how reasonable are you as a human being? Because everything in your background is going to come up to light in that jury if it goes that far. Sure. Now, the gentleman, the good guy shooter in Texas, in the Fort Worth church, he didn't go to court. He's done. Police probably just looked at his gun and sent him on his way because he had witnesses. Hundreds of them that said if it wasn't for old Joe, more people would have died today. So, okay, well, this is an investigation. He saved lives. And that's what concealed carry is all about. And that's my final point of the night. We teach to save lives, not take them.
100%. Really appreciate everything. Thank you, Tom. Again, always a pleasure. Thanks, Uncle Pete, for coming in today. Kent's off today. He has family stuff going on today. So
it's his wife's birthday.
It is. Happy birthday, Kent's wife.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back next week, Thursday at 6 p.m. with your host, Derek Baer, and Baer Facts on Guns. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for a fantastic show.
Awesome. Thank you. you.